Have you ever called someone the wrong name and found yourself feeling a flush of embarrassment days, weeks, possibly even months later? Well, welcome to the world of being human. But human mistakes come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? Mistakes. I mean, sometimes the consequences are going to have an effect on other people. Sometimes it really only affects you. And that effect could be sort of nibbling away at your confidence, your self-belief, generally your jig, your joy, impact, and growth, as I call it. So it's this kind of mistake that we want to explore in this episode. The inner chatter stuff that happens from certain mistakes, and I'm putting inverted commas around mistakes at all times. But let's start with a quote from another book from my shelf, and it's called Chatter, The Voice in Our Head and How to Harness It. Sometimes this chatter takes the form of a rambling soliloquy. Sometimes it's a dialogue we have with ourselves. Sometimes it's compulsive rehashing of past events, brackets, rumination. We'll come to that. Sometimes it's an angst-ridden imagination of future events, brackets, worry. Sometimes it's a free associative pinballing between negative feelings and ideas. Sometimes it's a fixation on one specific unpleasant feeling or notion. However it manifests itself, when the inner voice runs amok and chatter takes the mental microphone, our mind not only torments but paralyzes us. It can also lead to us doing things that sabotage us. Sabotage us? How? Well, let's explore. I'm Trisha Lewis, the host of Self-Belief Unsquashed. Generally short episodes, but I do also have some great guests from time to time. So keep tuned, subscribe, all that stuff. And I just look at all the human rubbishy things that get in the way of our, as I say, joy, impact, and growth, and really self-squash. And I've given you that definition a few times now, so I won't give it to you again, but I've got a TEDx called Beware the Self-Squashing Prophecy. I've got a book called The Mystery of the Squashed Self, and it's my take on, if you like, imposter syndrome, but it's a very interesting, slightly more upbeat variant of that. So check those out, check my website out for more on this self-squashing thing. But definitely, when you get hung up in your so-called mistakes, some pretty self-sabotaging, self-squashing stuff can happen. So first things first, let's define the terms. What is a mistake, in inverted commas? Well, a proper definition, an act of judgment that is misguided or wrong. And there are some great synonyms: blunder, error, lapse, slip. We've all used those probably. So there's something slightly unintentional, isn't there, about a mistake? For instance, how about some of these examples? See how many things you can tick off as I go through them. Calling someone the wrong name, going to the wrong place, wearing the wrong outfit, having your buttons undone without actually noticing, putting a document in the wrong file, telling a joke at the wrong moment, walking into a lamppost in a public place, opening a fizzy drink after it had inadvertently been shaken around and it sprays all over everybody. Hang on, there's another level, isn't there, to this? Marrying the wrong person, choosing the wrong uni course, starting a business without any planning, eating too much ice cream and feeling sick. That was a mistake. So you didn't deliberately mess up on any of those, really. You didn't mean to insult somebody. You didn't mean to cause discomfort to anybody. And yet, what if your response to this is as if it was intentional, evil, or even a deliberate act of self-sabotage? Your response outwardly might be really over the top, as in, I'm so sorry. Oh, forgive me. Oh, I feel awful. I feel terrible. And now, of course, you're drawing way more attention to the small blunder and possibly making the other person feel way more awkward on your behalf. Or perhaps it's just internal, which actually is often the most self-sabotaging, isn't it? So you might be saying things repeatedly like, oh, I'm a clumsy oaf. I'm so useless at this. They'll think I'm weird. Everyone's looking at me. Or I need to avoid going there, seeing them ever again. Or I must take a back seat, to be honest, now. From here on in meetings, I'm just going to keep quiet and smile. Oh, they're probably still laughing about me now. And none of these are good, are they? Especially when it comes under the heading of rumination. What a great word. Let's explore that word, rumination. Well, verb to ruminate. Have you ever heard the word used in association with cows? I have no idea why I brought cows into this because I've got a real cow phobia, but let's just go with it. Cows ruminate. It's perfectly natural and normal. And it's a physical act, the process of regurgitation of fibrous ingesta, this is an official thing, from the rumen, which is their first stomach, to the mouth. Remastication, this is, I hope you're not eating at this moment, and resalvation, salivation, sorry, followed by swallowing and returning of the material back to the rumen. Well, that's from Welsh et al. 2021. It's official. But, that's great. A really efficient process for the cow. It's, in fact, what they have to do to survive. But if you swap you for the cow and your inner chatter for that fibrous ingesta, that kind of ruminating might not be so clever. So in this human definition, Merriam and Webster say to ruminate, going over the same matter in one's thoughts again and again, with little of either purpose thinking or, see, I made a mistake. You'll never listen to this podcast again. I'll start again. Going over the same matter in one's thoughts again and again with little of either purposive thinking or rapt absorption. So not meditating and not sort of a planning, proper, purposeful set of thinking. Something else which is just not helpful, doesn't get you anywhere. Why do we do this? Human brain stuff, human brain, wonderful thing as it is, it's kind of wired for survival. This is partly a survival thing. We're looking for danger. We're looking for threat. We're looking for threat to our image in case we are quite literally thrown to the lions. We have a whole set of neurons and synapses going ding, 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 and making connections, which, if we're not careful, become really not helpful, not rational. We're making cognitive errors in all of this, and we're connecting one thing to another, and we're spiraling into these self-doubt pits. So enough of that. Let me just go back to that book I mentioned earlier with another little quote. When our internal conversation loses perspective and gives rise to intensely negative emotions, the brain regions involved in self-referential processing, in other words, thinking about ourselves, and generating emotional responses become activated. In other words, our stress response hardware starts firing, releasing adrenaline and cortisol, flooding up with negative emotions, which only serve to further rev up our negative verbal stream and zoom us in more. And as a result, we're unable to get a wider angle view that might reveal more constructive ways of handling the emotionally trying situations we encounter. Good quote. Good book. So shall we try and find some reframes and things that we might do to make this less of a self-sabotaging, self-squashing thing when we do make mistakes, which we're going to? Number one, spot that you're doing this ruminating, this totally useless going back over your head over, oh God, I bet they're thinking this. Oh, I'll never be able to show my face again. Oh, I always make these silly mistakes. spot it. That's the self-awareness bit, which comes as base camp for any of this. Right. So that was one base camp one. Now we're into 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, we all make mistakes. So remind yourself that you are not alone. Recall that you respond to people who make these little blunders, slip-ups, lapses, or mistakes with quite a lot of supportive emotions, don't you? Or maybe not even noticing. So why would other people make so many horrible, negative judgments of you? So perspective, get into the other person's shoes. Remember when it's happened the other way around. I mean, how did you respond when a fizzy drink got sprayed on you by mistake? You were trying to make the other person feel better. It's the kind of thing you could have done. Right. Number 2, do something. Do something. Something practical, simple, something that requires concentration. It might also be something physical. And I might just say, as having recently taken up climbing, that is so good for getting rid of these inner chatter, negative spiral things. Obviously, you have challenge, and there'll be times where you beat yourself up doing certain new skills. But yeah, generally that physical aspect plus the challenge and the concentration are great for this. Because it's almost addictive, isn't it? The rumination thing. You get kind of hooked into this rumination loop and you can't get out of it. So break that. Now, what I wouldn't suggest in the action plan is necessarily talking to a friend. Now, it can work, but there is a danger, and it's co-rumination. It's got its own little description. I love this. And you will understand this when you start to talk about something that's bothering you. Oh, I did this really stupid thing. Then your lovely friend will want you to have the opportunity to talk more about it. They will start focusing in on it. And before you know what is happening, you are massively over-focused on this and now kind of making it worse, to be honest. So we're just getting our negative thoughts fueled and fed by very well-meaning listening friends. Number 3, the spotlight effect, which I have mentioned before, and it's kind of what it says on the tin, is that sense that we have a spotlight on us and everybody is looking at us all the time. We just totally misjudge how much notice people take of us. And that's science. That's been researched. There's some great research stuff out there with lovely anecdotes, which at some stage I might share. But yeah, just remember that you tend to over obsess about what other people are thinking about you. Bearing all those things in mind and being aware of all of those things and taking those actions is great. There's another little thing that you might try. It won't always work, but sometimes you can sort of pre-announce your, shall we say, blunder tendencies. If it's something that you regularly tend to do, like misnaming, being late, telling bad jokes at the wrong moment, spilling things, tripping into things, obviously try not to do those things, and you will, put some effort into it. I'm not saying, you got carte blanche to do all of that, but if it is out there, you will be less hung up about it, and other people will be less hung up about it. So sometimes, rather than hiding all of this back into yourself in a seed that grows in this horrible dark place, and that leads to this rumination, it's sometimes better to sort of actually put a light on it and say, I'm doing that thing again. By the way, I warn you, I am useless at remembering names. Please forgive me if I use the wrong name, and will you please tell me instantly that I've done that? Or I'm in this place. I know sometimes I open my mouth and crazy, silly stuff comes out, and my sense of humor doesn't always suit the occasion. So please just tell me if that's happening or whatever. Or by the way, I am the clumsiest person on earth. I really hope already that I'm not going to trip over somebody or spill these drinks, but if I do, I apologize up front. I don't know, you judge the situation, but I just sometimes think getting something out in the open can stop that rumination and that inward focus of, oh, this is so embarrassing. Now, of course, when it comes to those big, shall we say, life choice mistakes, in inverted commas, I mentioned marrying the wrong person, doing the wrong degree course, etc., etc. Well, your action here is simply to A, remind yourself that you went through it and you blinking well got through it. You moved on, you grew. So please give yourself a high five for that, rather than just focusing on this, what an idiot I was. And number two, you learnt, because never making mistakes would make a very dull person, a dull life, and a complete lack of personal development and growth and possibly even joy. So we will end on that famous quote by Oscar Wilde. Experience is the name we give to our mistakes. I hope you enjoyed that, gave you some food for thought. I'll put any references, obviously, where you find this, and you will find this on all pod platforms or on my website, as I said, trishalewis.com. Always happy to have ideas for future episodes. So, get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And yeah, just stay curious and unsquashed.